Count me out, y'all better count me in. The South champion, the South champion. I never went nowhere. The South champion. I never went nowhere. The South champion. Ain't never count me out, y'all better count me in. Never been defeated and I won't stop now. Never been defeated and I won't stop now. I never went nowhere. The South champion. I never went nowhere. The South champion. Ain't never count me out, y'all better count me in. The South champion. The South champion. I never went nowhere. The South champion. I never went nowhere. The South champion. Ain't never count me out. Y'all better count me in. Never been defeated and I won't stop now. Never been defeated and I won't stop now.
Hey guys, so today I'm going to be going over ported versus sealed enclosures. These are the two most common types of enclosures that you'll come across when you're buying a sub for your sound system. So today I'm going to be going over the basics of what to look for in the sub box. Let's go over the sealed enclosure first. This is probably going to be the most versatile and most common sub enclosure you're going to be coming across. This is the preferred enclosure you want to pick when space is at a premium. They don't require nearly as much space as a ported box or a bandpass box. Another big advantage to having a sealed subwoofer enclosure is it delivers tight, clean bass. And you're definitely going to get a lot more response when it comes to bass, especially when you're listening to rock songs. This is where I really notice the big difference. Rock songs, when you listen to the bass drum, especially when they're kicking that bass drum really fast, you need something that's going to keep up. The air inside actually acts like a spring, helping the subwoofer bounce back. There is a downside though to sealed enclosures. One, they don't boom as loud. The other one is that air spring also acts as resistance. So typically when you do a sealed woofer, in a sealed enclosure, you're going to usually tend to need to buy a more powerful amplifier. I always recommend buying a more powerful amplifier anyways, so that's something you have to keep in mind when you're matching your subwoofer enclosure and your amplifier. So for my example for a sealed enclosure, I'm kind of showing you the extreme of it. This is the Pioneer Thin Series sub. These subs are extremely small when it comes to mounting depth, and you can see how small the enclosure is. If space is at a premium, you definitely want to go with something this route. You want to put the sub in the spare tire well, you want to put it in the quarter panel. Going this way is going to make life a lot easier. This particular enclosure, typically, it's got legs, so it's supposed to be positioned down firing. And it's a very efficient design as long as you power it up appropriately. Now we have the ported enclosure. So as the name suggests, there is a port or a hole in the enclosure. And this is what gives it that big booming sound. Typically those guys or girls that you see, or hear I should say, rolling down the road and you can hear them from a mile away, they're probably running an enclosure like this. These are very efficient when it comes to SPO. There are disadvantages to this though. Typically, a ported enclosure is much larger than sealed. The volume of the box has to be relative to the port length, depending on the requirements of the subwoofer. If you're buying a pre-made box like this though, you don't have to worry about things like that. Now you can get a good sounding quality ported box. Typically you want to get one custom made because then the installer can actually match the subwoofer to the frequency response you're after, and also to the requirements of the subwoofer. Typically a box should be tuned to a particular frequency that the user wants to hit, so it's not as versatile as a sealed enclosure, but you can get pretty close and you get a lot of boom. Now, when you remember me talking about that on the sealed box, the air acts like a spring. Well, in this case, because the air can actually move freely out of the box, you usually typically don't need as powerful as an amplifier to get the same amount of boom. But I don't suggest doing that. I always suggest to overpower your subs just by a little bit. It's always safer to do that. If you want your stuff to last longer, you definitely want to get a nice quality amplifier. So don't cheap out, but that's kind of like the science behind it if you want to put it. Okay, for those of you that have a sealed box and you've been looking for more boom, don't watch this video and think, okay, I'm going to put a hole in my sealed box and it's going to be ported and it's going to sound awesome. No. Seen a lot of people try this before. They'll just take a hole saw, drill a hole right in the box, and then all the air escapes, and basically you have your enclosure is basically ineffective. There is a design to these things. You need a particular port length. They're not the most complicated things when you look them up on the internet. They're pretty simple. But to achieve the best port design, what I've seen is think of it like an exhaust system. So air is leaving. You want a port design that I like to actually put 45-degree angles in the corners to help air travel out smoother. You're being a little bit more meticulous at that point, but you're going to pay off in sound quality. Because sometimes if the hole's too big or you just have a poor design, you get port distortion or turbulence. And when you're standing right next to the sub, you can hear it. If you're in the cab far away, you probably won't hear it. But if you're going for the best possible sound quality, you probably want to spend the extra time in figuring out an efficient port design to let the air escape very efficiently and smoothly is the key. So for a recap, with the sealed enclosure, you're going to get much better overall sound quality. If sound quality is the key, go sealed. If space is an issue, go sealed. If you want pretty good quality and a lot more loudness, definitely go with the ported BoX. You can't go wrong with either one. What I'm trying to explain here is what are you looking for out of your sound system. For me, I've run both. Both are awesome to have. Most people that like to be noticed, this is a lot of fun. I'm more now this route where I like to have more quality. I like to hear accurate bass. So my preference right now, I really prefer sealed. But one's not really better than the other. It's just what are you looking for in your sound system.